New York State legal firearms, a question that many of you have been thinking, considering these liberal states have a sizable amount of people in them. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going over some firearms that are a perfect starter firearm to get in New York State without any permits and any type of accessories needed. All right, so you want to defend yourself, you might want to get into hunting, sport shooting, whatever. As long as you have a clean record, as long as you don't have a felony, any criminal misdemeanors, you could pass a background check, for a government job at least, then you're gonna be able to pass a background check to own a firearm, right? It's only a 10-15 minute process. We'll go over a lot of this stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, it is your host, Nicholas Renner, on another video later in the day after work because I have a job. And ladies and gentlemen, I live in the communist state, New York, and I've been to California as well. Both have their downsides as well as their upsides, or else nobody would live here. But ladies and gentlemen, as you know, it's communist, and I'm out here, people are like, oh, you should move. Well, ladies and gentlemen, someone needs to stay behind and promote freedom because our founding fathers fought here and died for our freedoms. The Battle of Saratoga. But we're not gonna get into that. I'm gonna get into a couple firearms that you can own as a New York State resident, and even in California, because they have similar gun laws. There's a lot of differences between the laws in California and New York, such as California right now, trying to pass a bill to stop it. Right now, California is a stand your ground state. New York has a duty to retreat, believe it or not. As close as they are in gun laws, with both having ammo background checks, both having assault weapons bans, they actually both have minor differences, and actually a lot of differences when it comes to the minute details of such, like California having its own more detailed list of approved features, going into foregrips or going into hand stops, going into things like that, where in New York it's more of a gray area where you kind of gotta call around, do your research more. And a lot of the officers, I've spoken to some that said, there's hand stops that can classify as a foregrip and there's some that don't. So it's not like they actually, New York's come out with a list of approved items because there's some gray areas there. But ladies and gentlemen, these are items that you don't have to worry about any of the gray areas. You don't have to worry about trying to be behind closed doors, because these are items that you can just go to your local gun shop and purchase without any type of permits. Because as you know, in New York State, as of recently, with a new law after the unfortunate Buffalo shooting, they have made it so you have to be 21 to purchase a semi-auto, but you also have to go through a New York State pistol permit to go through the process of that. And with the New York State pistol permit, it's one of the hardest processes to get it. It's even harder in New York City, so we're talking about New York State, ladies and gentlemen. So we're not talking about New York City, we're not talking about Buffalo and Rochester, because they have their own city ordinances, right? And you can look into those. I'm talking about the normal upstate New York, not dealing with additional unconstitutional city ordinances that they plop down, because they have them, right? Like the safe storage, they have all this stuff where it's just completely illegal. We're talking about just the normal upstate New York, right? Countryside and even, towns, stuff like that in some cities. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not need to go through your pistol permit. With your pistol permit, for even a Ruger 10/22, you need a endorsement on your pistol permit to have purchased any semi-auto. If you have semi-autos before the ban, they're grandfathered in, right? But to purchase any, even a 10/22, you need to have it. And to get it, you need to go through an 18-hour class. You need to have 4 references in your county. You need to get your fingerprints done. You need to get passport quality photos done. You need to also put a deposit on your handgun of choice before you even know if you're gonna get the pistol permit. There's a numerous amount of things that you gotta do. So there's probably a few other things I'm missing in there, but it's a whole entire process, right? And you gotta bring all this stuff at the end and fill out a whole entire form, right? And then you gotta hand it to them, and then they gotta interview you. And so these are weapons you don't gotta go through the hassle, right? You don't gotta worry about this, because you can show up at the gun store as long as you're not a criminal, right? And most of you that are watching this probably have a clean record, right? And I'm not talking about, traffic infraction. I'm talking about violent crimes, all right? If you had a traffic infraction, you're gonna pass a background check, right? So we're gonna get into these weapons. We're gonna shoot them. We're gonna go over price points, go over a couple different alternatives that I might not have. So this is the 12 gauge, tried and true. Americans been using this since a long time, you know. Black powder shotguns. This is a 12 gauge, made in the USA, Elite King model, right? Some type of old school off-brand that they don't make anymore, made in the USA. But ladies and gentlemen, you can shoot it's manually operated, all right? So it's not semi-automatic. You don't need a semi-auto permit to own this, right? This shoots 2 3/4 shells. Ammo is inexpensive for skeet shooting rounds, just to scare people away. You know, you can shoot birdshot. You get a hunting one with different chokes. You could do small game hunting, waterfowl, etc. Then you can step it up to home defense, start using what they call buckshot, which is, you know, instead of a bunch of little BBs, you get a bunch of balls, roughly the size of 9mm, or around that size, correct me if I'm wrong. Then you get slug, which is like a 50 caliber ball or projectile coming at you, because you can see, you know, how the barrel is very wide. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll show you how it is. Get to it. So right now we're going to be shooting birdshot, just your standard federal birdshot. Nothing special. We're going to get to it. Shoot 3 rounds here. Just the water. Get the safety up. Clear. Ladies and gentlemen, it's as simple as it gets. Manually operated, gets the job done. No permits, nothing. You walk into the gun shop, paid like $260 for this thing, right? An old gentleman passed away, passed it down to the shop when I was down south in a gun store. It was like $260, right? Go to your local gun shop. They probably have a 12 gauge for $200, $300, right? If you want to go fancy, you can get ones that are thousands of dollars, right? And then if you get your pistol permit, if you already have your pistol permit, you already got that, buy a semi-auto shotgun, you know? You can get tried and true ones that can shoot lots of different rounds, but the thing is, with a pump action or a lever action, or even a brake barrel, you get the flexibility of shooting different types of loads, and you still cycle it. It will still cycle. So this is great for home defense, sport shooting, hunting, all of the above, right? You know, this is nothing you're gonna take to war, but it's better than having nothing, right? Gun control is people control, right? So this is why when you're behind enemy lines, you gotta have something to defend yourself, right? Because in the end, controlling arms is controlling people. And if you don't wanna believe it, that's on you, man. Because one dude with a gun holds up a whole bank of 50 people. Why is there only 4 guards with guns needed to control 100 dudes? Why were men with single shot muskets able to round up hundreds of people when they would all have to reload? Because it's like, oh, all they had was muskets back then. There was even gun control in other countries during that time where the weapons were rudimentary. Even in all ancient societies, weapons control has always been used, right? Because it stems with power. If one group has power over another, bad things happen sometimes, right? But we're always advocating for all legal and lawful purposes for self-defense, for self-preservation, your family, your household, hunting, fishing, all legal purposes. That's what we represent on this channel. But we're gonna get into the other firearm that you can get. It's a great weapon from a long time ago. A little bit longer than this specific one, older, but is a great weapon that you do not need you don't need any permits for. We're gonna get into it. Swedish Mauser, 1916. I got this a while back. It shoots 6.5 Swedish Mauser, the adjustable elevation. It's got the cleaning rod, just an absolute, you know, amazing piece. Just old school, 5 rounds, just old school Mauser, like back in the day. The whole point is, it's not a showcase of an old school weapon. It's because this is kind of what we're relegated to in New York. 100-year-old guns, 100-year-old technology now, without permits, right? It's ridiculous. And they're gonna ban these next once they got, you know, some crazy person that's as skilled as dudes like Jerry Mitchell like does something. They're, oh my gosh, like in Australia, they're claiming pump actions are rapid firing. Because you watch some of these competitions, you know, if the guy behind is good, he's gonna shoot it fast, right? So they'll come up with any excuse. They're pushing the goalpost. But something like this, you can get, back in the day you can get them cheaper, but you can get like a bolt action. So the whole point is bolt action platform or lever action platform is where you're gonna wanna go. Lever action is gonna be a lot more expensive. You're gonna be spending $1,000 at least. Maybe you can get a deal. If you can get a deal, get a deal. But your bolt action's tried and true. It's gonna be a lot more reliable. You're gonna be able to hit at farther ranges. So you're gonna be able to use it for hunting at farther ranges, right? It's gonna be, you can get scope attachments. This is obviously old school. I don't wanna ruin the value on it, even though there's probably not much value on it. But you get old school World War II surplus, World War I surplus. You can get a cheaper deal, or you can just go modern 30-06, go modern, you know, with all your bells and whistles, Picatinny rails, laser sights, everything. Because if you go bolt action, you don't have it detached. It's not semi-auto. You can have your bells and whistles, you can have your grips and your bells and whistles. It's just when you have a semi-automatic weapon with a detachable magazine, that's where you're coming into issues, right? And if you already don't have those permits, don't even worry about it. If you're already grandfathered in, all right, we'll come out with some more videos for the people that are grandfathered in. Then also for people that want to get those, how you can build them, how you can build a budget one for New York State or California. Mainly focus on New York, but California is very similar on it. So we're gonna shoot this thing, talk about it a little more. So ladies and gentlemen, it got dark out. I don't know if it caught on camera. We're gonna shoot the rest of the ammo that we got here. We only got 2 more rounds left. A Swedish Mauser. This thing has no recoil at all, I'm telling you. This thing's awesome, man. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it. It got pitch black before I could finish this up. I'm definitely gonna come out with a better video. I just wanted to put something out for you guys. I'm gonna go into more detail about everything, showcase more guns that you could use in these communist states to defend yourself, to hunt, sport shoot with, go over some collector's items, go over fishing, everything Americana, dirt bikes, everything you can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, and calling out the BS politics. I'm gonna be coming out with a Rumble podcast, you can see, which will have all the censored content that you know and love, the Instagram reels that you watch every day that you cannot speak about because America is under tyranny. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you all, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.